This was actually pretty good, enjoyable. You know, there's very little power that you have as a member of the minority party in our government. In the Senate, you still have the ability to filibuster legislation, but not any of the nominees, not any of the judicial picks, none of it, because the moon fell into Lake Michigan, and Mitch McConnell then took that as a sign to get rid of the filibuster for Supreme Court picks. But what you do have is really just the ability to make some of the nominees to hold certain posts uncomfortable and to make people aware that there may very well be a problem within a certain agency. Donald Trump has nominated as EPA air pollution chief a guy named William Wehrum. He was in the EPA during the Bush years, which means that he is fundamentally against the mission of the EPA, which is to protect the environment. That's where the name EPA comes from. Actually, it's the first letters of the three words Environmental Protection Agency. William Wehrum does not seem to be terribly committed to the idea of protecting the environment. Because if he was, he would know some of the more basic things that are going on with the environment right now. And this is amazing, because it's not even like, this isn't even just about whether or not you think it's man-made or God just lets this stuff happen. It's like, you know, you have some basic awareness of some problems that we're facing in the environment now. And Jeff Merkley, Senator Jeff Merkley, decides to put a fine point on that.
NASA has compiled a third chart. This one again shows the rising temperature in the same color in black, and it shows the rising greenhouse gas emissions. Can you, without great familiarity, acknowledge that these lines generally track each other?
Once again, Senator, I'm not familiar with those data. I have no idea what it depicts.
No, but you can see the lines. Do the lines track each other?
What's important, Senator, is to know how the data are depicted. Understanding the underlying data and understanding the...
Yes, it is, but I'm just asking you a question. Can you see those two lines, and do they generally track each other?
Well, again...
Okay, thank you. What we have seen is this Koch brother-inspired determination not to acknowledge even the most fundamental facts and continuous excuses that perhaps the temperature of the planet is going up because of solar activity. Oh, no, wait, maybe it's volcanic activity. But when NASA presents the information that shows there's no correlation from those factors and extensive correlation from carbon dioxide and other global warming gases, individuals like you simply refuse to acknowledge it. Why should the American people put into an office of significant influence someone who refuses to look at the facts directly that are so important to the health of this planet?
Senator, as I said a second ago, these are complex issues and very important issues, and I admit myself, if confirmed, to speak with you about your concerns. Do you think on such a serious...
So, in Oregon, we have lost 1 billion oysters due to the increasing acidity of the ocean. That's caused by carbon dioxide becoming carbonic acid. Are you familiar with this problem? Yes or no? You're familiar with the increasing acidity of the ocean? I'm not familiar with the oyster industry
in Oregon, no, sir.
Are you familiar with the increasing acidity of the ocean?
I understand there's an allegation that...
Oh my goodness, you've got to be kidding me. Really?
I understand there's an allegation.
You're in this field and you have never read anything about the increasing acidity of the ocean? Well, how about the fact that we have a fire season that's 2 months longer than it was 40 years ago? Are you familiar with the growing length of the fire season?
I have not.
Are you familiar with the extending range of pine beetles that are having devastating impact on our forests and creating an area that you can fly over called the red zone?
Yeah, as I said, Senator,
are you familiar with the decreasing snowpack in the Cascades? All of these things, no one can look at what is happening on the planet and see that there is nothing happening unless you're deliberately determined to ignore that information. And that makes you really, quite frankly, unacceptable to serve in this capacity. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
High on a hill was a lonely goat, hurley, 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 hee-hoo. Loud was the voice of the lonely goat.
Ah, the fucking oysters. Merkley totally a shill for the oyster industry, trying to corner that nerd. When a nerd doesn't know about beetles and you do, you know you're a fucking loser.
I love the idea there's an allegation that there's ocean acidification. There's an allegation out there. We wouldn't want to smear acid and have people walking around thinking that like it's trying to acidify the ocean. I mean, it's just we got a real problem, folks. We got a real problem. And, there's this story, the poll out today about what's going on in Virginia. And Northam is up on Gillespie by about in double digits now. But remember that during the last race, the polls were off by about 8 points. Now, there may be other factors. I don't want to get, John from San Antonio on my back about this right now. But
Sam, watch your fucking mouth.
There may be other factors. But the reports are that there is a lot less enthusiasm. Now, it's on both sides. But there's a lot less enthusiasm than one would imagine for an election of this type. In November in Virginia, the State House is up for grabs. People better get on it. People better get on it. If you're in Virginia, at the very least, you better get on it. Because we're going to have to start taking some state houses back. I mean, this is going to be a long project. But there's not a lot of margin of error here. There's, they're going to get another Supreme Court pick. It's not guaranteed, but there's going to have to be a lot of luck involved that they don't. And that's going to make a lot of mechanisms much harder. So people better get on that. See that kind of like insanity. Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos